Hello, I'm Laura McLean, Vice Chair of the Oak Ridge School Board. Welcome to Focus on Education. My guest today is Jen Laurendine. Some of you may know Jen as our Coordinator of School Health, but Jen has a new job. She is the Dean of Students at Jefferson Middle School. And what is the Dean of Students, you ask? Well, that's why we have her here. It's a new position that we have one in each of our middle schools, and I wanted to have Jen come and kind of talk to us about what is the Dean of Students and how things are going. So Jen, if you could introduce yourself and just give us a little bit about your background.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me here to represent Jefferson and the new Dean of Students position.
Definitely.
My name is Jen Laurendine. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been in education and coaching since I graduated from college. And I was a former educator in Morgan County, brief time in Roane County, and then I got hired on for coordinated school health here in Oak Ridge. And then this opportunity came available, and I was very interested in it, and it just worked out wonderfully. So
that's great. That's
yes.
great. So tell me about your family.
Yes.
and a little bit about your education. You said from Pennsylvania.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes. So my family lives in Pennsylvania. My parents just recently moved to Florida, but the rest of my family lives in Pittsburgh. I am married to an Oak Ridger, Michael Laurendine, Big Cat. He's the head custodian at Robertsville Middle School.
Right.
We have one daughter. She is 10 years old, Haven, and she's a 5th grader at Jefferson. So she is loving the transition.
That is great.
Yeah.
That's great. So previously your role was coordinator of school health.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're the Dean of Students.
Mm-hmm.
So can you describe some of the similarities and differences in those two roles?
Absolutely, and I think that lately with how coordinated school health was developing, mm-hmm. there are a lot of similarities. The past year and a half in coordinated school health, we really started to focus on how non-academic issues affect absenteeism. So that was one thing that pupil services and coordinated school health were really trying to look into is, how are we going to help students be at school? That was a big thing. The other thing was the social emotional health piece
mm-hmm.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that we really worked hard in with coordinated school health, with professional development opportunities for our teachers, to provide these opportunities for students, and just again that non-academic support. So moving to this Dean of Students position, that's a lot of what my job entails, is how can we support the student? Grades, all of that, but how else? Restorative practices and behavior, things like that. Again, helping with the truancy, attendance. So there are a lot of similarities.
Okay, great. So the Dean of Students, like I said, it's a new position mm-hmm. in our school system. When it was first discussed, I kind of got the idea that it was a disciplinarian, a social worker, a counselor, kind of all meshed together. Mm-hmm. Does that sound like an appropriate description?
It does, and it was kind of, I am just so thankful for Mr. Cox and Mr. Layton, because my goal to be in administration, Mr. Cox said, you're not just going to do discipline. You're not just going to do curriculum. You're going to do everything that Mr. Layton and I do. So I am so lucky for that, to get those experiences. So I'm doing teacher evaluations, again, attendance, counseling, discipline. I'm getting to do everything that they do on a day-to-day basis.
Wow, so it sounds like, I know I talked to Mr. Layton a couple days ago. He's the vice principal at Jefferson, and he spoke about how your presence is freeing him up, as well as Mr. Cox, the principal, to get involved in more curriculum issues.
Absolutely.
Or academic issues.
Absolutely. I know just within, we did the TE21 benchmark, and we did that a couple weeks ago, and we got the data back, and now we are able to be more intentional with that data. You know, there is time for, you know, them to go meet in classrooms, or, you know, go meet with teachers and, you know, really dive into that to see how we can make a difference and be more intentional about what we do every day. So yes, absolutely. I know that we're doing a lot of math visits. Mr. Cox and Mr. Layton are visiting, you know, all of our math classrooms, you know, once a week, every math classroom, you know, so it frees up a lot of time for just the little things, you know, obviously discipline, but, you know, meeting with students or dealing with a tardy issue, or, you know, little things like that that usually would have to take up so much time, but I'm able to do those things while they are taking care of that at that time.
Right, so that frees them up. And
absolutely.
You all are doing kind of shared leadership.
Absolutely.
So you're learning about what it is to be a principal and a vice principal.
Absolutely. And that is, you know, like I said, I am so thankful to be under Mr. Cox and Mr. Layton's leadership, because it is shared leadership. You know, everything we do, you know, we discuss, and you know, the feedback, and it's just a wonderful situation. I'm very thankful.
That's good. That's good. So you're just not dealing with students who are misbehaving.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
No.
So you're like promoting a positive school culture.
Absolutely.
So explain to me what a positive school culture means.
Well, you know, our number one job is to take care of the kids.
Right.
And what Jefferson prides itself on is our school safety. You know, there are so many levels and layers of safety. So, you know, our biggest priority is making sure everybody is safe. And one aspect of that is the discipline piece. You know, we set high expectations for our students. You know, everything is marked. We have many, you know, posters on the wall. We have wonderful TVs that, you know, really just reinforce that message to students. And the culture there is probably the best I've seen in a lot of the schools I've been in. You know, it's just, but again, it's because of that shared leadership, and everybody knows the expectations. Students, staff, visitors, you know, everybody's made aware of those expectations, and it runs very well.
That's great. That's great. Well, safety was something I also wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Safety for the school board and for everyone in our system is a priority.
Absolutely.
So what do you see your role in safety? Do you work with the school resource officers, or what are some of the things that you're involved in the safety?
Yes, you know, we have a living document, the safety plan, that our wonderful safety specialist, Kaylin Hayes, worked very hard district-wide to get that going. You know, so we have a Jefferson Safety Committee, and we meet, I think we have a meeting probably in 2 weeks. We had one a couple weeks ago, just to go over any issues that anybody has. You know, that could include AED training, CPR certification, and make sure that we can get as many of our staff members trained in CPR. You know, just the way, the policies, the protocols, making sure those things are seamless. You know, a situation, you know, what if a teacher has students outside and there is some sort of emergency? How are we going to alert them? We try to make sure that every situation, you know, if something bad's going to happen, we want to make sure that there is something in place so everybody knows the expectations and knows how to react. So, you know, we just try to go over every piece of that and really have some open, honest conversations about that.
Right. Well, and I know there's so many different scenarios, and trying to anticipate what the different scenarios are, and piece together the best plan for each of those situations, knowing that you're dealing with 600 kids, and the best way
Absolutely.
Because
we want to keep those, you know, we want our environment to be conducive to learning, and students have to feel safe, supported, you know, and that's our job as administrators, and, you know, and staff, is to make sure that those things are in place, and safety is a huge piece of that.
Right,
you
right.
know.
Good, good. So you mentioned attendance. So attendance, I know, is an issue in all of our schools, from elementary through the high school. Truancy also is an issue, and I've been to many of the truancy and attendance meetings that Mr. Lay holds.
Absolutely.
And I know that we're really trying to emphasize the importance of getting to school on time and coming to school every day that you possibly can.
Absolutely.
How are you involved in attendance and truancy?
I work very closely with Renee Langford. She's one of our secretaries, and we make sure that every week she provides me with who is tardy, who is absent. I kind of have a watch list of students that are kind of racking up those absences, and I make phone calls home. We try to work with the school counselors, because again, how can we support those students? How can we support those families? How can we, is there something us as a school can be doing to support them? We have a wonderful school nurse, Miss Cousins, who gives wonderful care, and are the students, is nutrition, there are so many different aspects of sometimes why kids don't go to school or are tardy, so we try to make plans and try to contact them and just develop that relationship to see what's really going on and how can we support that.
Right.
But I know I sent an email before I came here to get the numbers run, because, we stay on it. It's something every week that we stay on and we look at those numbers. The teachers are aware, and we're always communicating in our grade level meetings. If you have a student who, you think something may be going on, let us know, and we will make a phone call home. And that's the part I love about my job, how I can support the kids, and the families.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it doesn't matter how great the teachers are, how cool the devices are that we have,
Absolutely.
how good the lesson plans are, how wonderful the food is,
Absolutely.
How good the transportation is. If the kids aren't there to take advantage
Yes.
of all of those things,
Absolutely.
then we're just in a mess.
Absolutely.
And
Even we have so many beautiful resources with the Canvas, but when those students, yes, they can make up work. Yes, they know everything that's going on, but if they're not in that classroom, in that seat, getting that instruction, that classroom instruction, that's our goal, is to have kids there every day on time.
Yeah. Well, I know families are faced with a lot of different issues.
Absolutely.
But definitely attendance in school needs to be a priority for every family
Yes.
to make sure that their kids, and with our calendars where we have the 2-week fall break and the 2-week spring break, there are lots of opportunities for families to take vacations during different seasons, and
Doctor's appointments, things like that. I mean,
Right.
things come up, and everybody understands that. But you have those 2 weeks, and I think that's, I think that's a great. I think we were talking about the calendar earlier. I mean, I love it, and I
Right.
think the students love it, and it's a great thing.
Yeah. I think the calendar. Yeah, the
Yeah.
calendar is good. Okay, well, we're going to take a little break and then come back and talk about the teacher evaluation process and some of the other things that you're doing in your new role.
Okay, great.
So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Great, thanks.
Welcome back to Focus on Education. I'm Laura McLean, and I'm here with my guest, Jen Laurendine, the new Dean of Students at Jefferson Middle School. So Jen, I know the teacher evaluation process is pretty elaborate. So could you break it down for those of us who aren't teachers or who aren't in the system day by day? Explain the whole process and then what you're doing.
Okay, so depending on certain things, teachers have to have so many evaluations each school year. You know, in the whole process, you know, you either have an announced or an unannounced visit or observation. So, you know, it all starts with a pre-conference where you communicate to the teacher, you know, you find out what's going on, you have some conversation, you know, and then you have the observation, you know, and it's during a class period. Again, that can be either announced or unannounced depending on the level, things like that. And then afterwards, you know, you score based on a larger rubric, and then you have a post-conference, and the teacher also self-scores, and then you have a post-conference. And, you know, I absolutely love getting into the classrooms. I think it's very interesting just to see how different the teachers are and to see the amazing things that they're doing in their classrooms. You know, and to provide them feedback. You know, and just to help them become better teachers. It's a wonderful process. So what we've done, again, that shared leadership, Mr. Cox, Mr. Layton, and myself have split them up. You know, we try to get so many each week. And sometimes it's hard because, you know, I had to cancel one the other day because something else came up, you know, and our staff is wonderful, you know, but it's just a great opportunity to have those conversations, to talk to them, you know, about, hey, you know, I saw you do this, this, and this in your lesson. You know, you know, we just got this benchmark data back. How can you, you know, what can you do in your lesson that, you know, that we're being intentional about to help, you know,
better address that?
Absolutely. Okay. So it's just a great opportunity to be able to help support our staff, to increase student learning, you know.
So it's not a punitive thing. It's
Mm-mm.
And the evaluation, the newest teachers have more evaluations done than a seasoned teacher.
Correct. Yes. And you know, and I think that, you know, even when I was in the classroom, I think a lot of people thought it was one of the, you know, a gotcha, but it's a different way of thinking. It's not like that at all. You know, we are there to support. We are there, you know, the things our teachers do on a daily basis, thinking outside the box, the differentiated instruction, the amazing lessons they do, just to engage students.
Right.
You know, they don't see how awesome that is. But to have those conversations and talk to them about these things and say, you know, you are doing an amazing job. You did this, this, and this. Sometimes they don't even realize it. So you know, it's kind of like a coaching relationship, you know. But it's a great process, and you know, I think I have 2 or 3 scheduled for tomorrow. But you know, we are working hard to make sure that, you know, again, we are spending the quality time with each teacher. And again, this job helps in that, because before there were 2 people doing it, now there's 3. So it's really helped them be more, again, that's the word I'm using, intentional, but more focused, a lot more feedback, a lot more thought-provoked. So we're excited about them.
Well, and that just brings to mind, I know that we have to have an administrator at each of the after-school activities. So when there's a band concert or a chorus or a strings or a ball game, so I'm sure that Mr. Cox and Mr. Layton, as much as they love attending all of those,
absolutely,
it's nice to have a third person to kind of divide that up, because there's a lot of after-school activities, and that's wonderful. But I'm sure for an administrator it can get overwhelming and kind of taxing on your families.
Yes, and I think that's one of another thing. You know, the other night, you know, we had 3 things going on. You know, and Mr. Cox, like I said, he leads by example. He said, I have it. Well, then I stopped by to grab something, and we had another issue ensue. So I was able to take care of that while Mr. Layton was at the, you know,
school board meeting.
Yes, you know, so, and we always cover that, and we always try to make sure, because, you know, everything that we do with our students after school, or, you know, meetings or choral concerts or band or football, whatever it may be, is just as important as the next.
Right.
So it's been wonderful, and you know, family is first. And, you know, Mr. Layton and Mr. Cox are huge advocates for that. So, you know, this helps divvy that so we can all spend more time with our families.
Right, right. Okay, so I'm sure that your job, there's something different that happens every day, and you go in with a plan of, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this, and then I've got this and this. But I'm sure that it doesn't always work that way. So kind of give me like a day in the life of Jen Laurendine as the new Dean of Students.
Well, our day usually starts, you know, oh goodness, we usually get there about 6:15. Between 6:15 and...
It's dark at 6:15.
It is very dark. And, you know, Miss Story is there, Felicia Story.
Yes.
She beats us there every morning.
Wow.
She's there.
She's been there, yeah.
Exactly. So she's there at the crack of dawn. But, you know, we're usually there anytime 6:15-ish and on, no later than 6:30. You know, there's things we would do. We'd take a walk around the building, make sure, you know, classrooms are okay, you know, temperature-wise, you know, when things like that. We turn our TVs on. We have some amazing TVs throughout our building that, again, state the message, state, you know, instructional information, things about grit and perseverance and things like that. We just go make sure everything's okay, and then we start checking our email. Mr. Cox would always tease about how many emails. It's unbelievable how many emails we get. And ours come, you know, we check them all the time, but there's at least 3 or 4 things we have to deal with every morning. And then at 6:55, we go down to the gym. Our amazing custodian, Ricky Johnson, he'll open the doors and the kids come in. They we usually open about a minute till 7. And then we go out and do bus duty. And make sure the buses are okay, you know, touch base with all the drivers, go talk to the kids, make sure everything's okay, stay in the hallway. We always try to be present and be visible in the hallways at all times. So then, you know, first period starts and we're addressing issues. One thing with me being there, it's allowed Mr. Cox to go be in all the classrooms and to walk around the building and really get into all those things. And sometimes I can do it. You know, it just depends on who is dealing with something. And then, like I said, every class change, all of our administrators, all of our teachers are in the hallways. We do cafeteria duty.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And you know what? I absolutely love it. That is a time, you know, sometimes, I mean, I'm always talking to kids in the hallways and walking in between lockers, but that's a time to really just be around them, you know, and kind of test the water, so to speak, and see how everybody's doing, you know, and see if there's anything going on, and, you know, just walking around and talking to them, you know, talking to the cafeteria staff. We have an amazing cafeteria staff.
Yes.
But our PE teachers do the majority of the bus or the cafeteria duty, and they do a fabulous job. But just, you know, talking to them to kind of see what's going on. But you know, it's awesome, you know. And then you never know, you know, meetings. We have grade level meetings. We have instructional coach meetings. We have special area meetings, leadership meetings. You know, all those things. And then by the time, you know, dismissal, we go outside and make sure that we're there for buses and make sure everybody's safe getting on the bus. And, you know, we always have our transportation, just our walkie-talkies to make sure everybody's okay and everybody gets home. And then we're there until 4 or 5 o'clock at night, sometimes 6 o'clock, just depending on the situation. But, you know, every day is so different. And, you know, I'll be working on something, like today I was working on something and Mr. Cox and Mr. Layton were down in the cafeteria and I was working on a situation and Mr. Cox calls, hey, come on down here. And, you know, everything just changed within a 2-second period, you know. So, but it's awesome. It keeps you on your toes and, you know, it's a wonderful thing.
That's good. That's good. So how is it working in the same school with your daughter being there? Does she hate that, or is that okay, or does it vary from day to day?
Yeah, and I think I told you earlier, it was so funny whenever, you know, she called me, she said, Mom, you're not the dean of students, you're the mean of students.
Ooh,
and I'm like, yikes, who told you that? You know, is that what it, you know? But no, it's amazing. It's great to see her in the hallways, you know what I mean? And it's great to see her growing up and maturing, and you know, and I think it's a neat thing because you see all these other students and you're dealing with all these other students and what issues they're going through, and it helps me even reaching out with my own daughter,
right?
You know, making sure, keeping a pulse on her.
Right.
But it's fabulous. It's just, I love seeing her walk up the steps and she'll just look over at me, and you know, I'll smile. But it's super cool.
Well, I know our kids are dealing with really some of our children are dealing with very challenging issues.
Absolutely.
And is there anything that our community can do to help the school system support these kids that are in stressful situations?
Yeah, and you know what? I think that just being there, you know, we hosting events and coming out and support, and they do. We have a fabulous community. We, you know, anything we ever need, our community is there. But just continuing to be there, continuing to support us. You know, we have an amazing group of parents. School board, amazing and so supportive. Our administration at SAB is so incredibly supportive. You know, a lot of our community partners, you know, we partnered with 10 Bank this year to do a staff appreciation, and that's been huge. You know, and Chick-fil-A, they give us coupons for positive behavior. So there's just so many things that they already do. So if they could just keep doing what they're doing and stop by any time, and we'd love to have a discussion about the great things going on.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to hear that we now have this Dean of Students position. From what you say, it sounds like you are a busy woman, and you're able to free up our other administrative staff to continue to be busy.
Yes.
And we're meeting the needs that a lot of our students are challenged.
Absolutely.
And we want all our kids to be successful, and we're glad that we've been able to add this position. It sounds like it's been a good year so far.
Yes, it has, and we just can't thank you enough. And I mean, you know, everybody who made this happen, it is just it's an amazing thing. And like I said, the leadership of Jefferson, the administration with Mr. Cox and Mr. Layton, they're just incredible to work for and work with. And you know, I look forward to the future, just because it's just going to keep getting better.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, thank you, Jan.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been Focus on Education. Thank you so much. This was Laura McLean. I would encourage everyone to go and vote. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.